Peace and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. I've just risen from some rest. As you know, earlier I started to actually do a video, which I had to cut off because I was interrupted by some Romans. I kind of went live and gave you the scenario on exactly how that took place. So what I'll do here is pretty much going to be a segment. Won't pull anything from the book, but pretty much going to just talk to you for a few minutes pertaining to a few things that's troubling our people and that we're seeing current events nowadays throughout the earth. I'm going to title this segment, The Gloves Are Off. The gloves are off. Lies, deception, confusion, ignorance of our people. Once again, I title this segment, The Gloves Are Off. Lies, deception, confusion, ignorance of our people. Our people have been lied to, as you know. The lying had to be done to reinforce a specific ideology. As you know, when you're looking at the New Testament, it was a lie, but it was a lie with purpose. We totally disregarded the words of the Most High. He gave us statutes, judgments, and precepts which we blatantly chose to ignore. Since we did that, we were given statutes that were not good. The statutes that were not good are the ways of the heathen. As we were taken into captivity, they then taught us their ways, their customs, and we foolishly followed after their idols. In so doing, it's been a trap and a snare unto us. We were told to read a book from the back and not start at the front. Totally unheard of. Okay? So this is a lie that has been presented to us. We were also given a deity, a person that looks like our oppressors, which is fitting. It is psychological warfare, because if God looks like a particular group of people, then the last thing you would want to do is to do harm to those people. To do harm to God's people would bring wrath upon yourselves. So it was very difficult from a psychological perspective for any of our people during the time of slavery to really want to rebel against the European, for the simple fact that it's been given to us that these people, they look like the God that you're currently serving and the God that they actually gave us. I will say that in those times, in the times of slavery, black people, quote unquote, were not allowed to worship in the same churches as white people. Keep in mind that they gave us the same God, JC. But yet, we were separate from them and could not be in their church. Now, as you look throughout history, you'll see clearly where we had to build our own churches. And these are houses unto idols. We were not to do this. However, we did this thing, and the very people that gave us this God and told us we could not go to church with them, these are the very people that took the churches that we built and set them on fire and burnt them down, many of them. The history of America is full of this. So we're looking at a people that are savage in their behavior, and they walk contrary to all the laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. Part of the Most High's laws clearly states that you will not oppress a stranger. That was instructed to the children of Israel. We were, so we were not to oppress anyone. We were not to take a man and work him without wages and things of the like. The Europeans have taken all of the Most High's commandments, and they walk contrary to it in every way, shape, or form. So we have been lied to, and we've taken a hold of these lies. These lies were done with the intent to deceive our people. For if we're walking after idols, the Most High will turn his face away from us, and we will be defenseless. We will be helpless. But a new thing is happening. I'm seeing clearly now where the house of Israel is beginning to be awakened. The stone cut out without hands, which is the Most High's law, is going to break in pieces the lies and the untempered mortars of these many different nations. These lies are beginning to fall apart. because the Most High's law is being magnified throughout the earth by the children of Israel, as it was prophesied that we would be woken up, okay, after 2 days, after these 2,000 years, that we would be awake and we would actually go into the book of remembrance, clearly understand it, turn to the Most High with our whole heart and whole soul, facing Jerusalem, and admit our faults, and seek after the face of the Most High, and teach it to the children of Israel first, and then teach it to those of the nations who are of a contrite spirit. So I'm seeing personally that this is happening. And once the law is being taught, what happens is you're going to find, first of all, it was made clear that it would be a vexation for our enemies to understand this report. When the nations clearly hear and understand that we are the children of Israel, we have been given into your hands for a time, and we are under punishment, and you are nothing but the enforcers of our punishment, and all that you have presented to us are lies, just as we were told by Moshe, that our enemies will be proven to us to be liars. And we're seeing this. Here's a case in point. It was certainly instructed to us via the prophets, via Moshe, that we will be delivered into the hands of our enemies. We clearly see that we have been delivered into the hands of Europeans. Everything they have done to us is that which you would do to an enemy. They have been enemies unto us. So we were given into their hand for a time. And during that time frame, we would endure all these harsh punishments. And we would rely upon them for the want of all things, not some things, all things, from the clothing on our back, the food that we eat, to the knowledge that they teach us. Everything. Since we chose not to lean upon the Most High says, since you want to go after these idols so much and walk after the ways of these nations, I'm going to send you to them. The Most High guides a man by the way of his heart. If you're seeking the Most High, you'll find him. If you're seeking evil, you'll find that. And evil is anything that is contrary to the Most High's law. So we were given into the hands of our enemies, and we were given statutes that were not good. Hence, we are in this mess. Now, we have to understand where the deception has been made with our enemies. Anything that applies to us, has been changed from us to everyone else. So all the blessings that the house of Israel is supposed to receive, all the prophets being raised up out of the house of Israel, all the sons of Aaron, who's supposed to be the most highest priest, the people that have been chosen above all the nations of the earth, the house of Israel, the most highest people. This is to a specific group of people. However, what our enemies have done, they have taken everything that pertains unto us, and they have made it pertain to everyone breathing on the planet. Now, I say that because it's very important. If you follow any of Dr. Claude Anderson's work, if you've read any of his books, and you're familiar with what he teaches pertaining to economical and black empowerment, economically, politically, and how the whole political landscape has been laid out from the foundations of America. And it's not just America. This goes for all the other European powers who have conquered our people and enslaved them throughout the diaspora. When the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was written, it was written specifically for quote-unquote black Americans. However, what they have done, they've taken everything that pertains to black Americans and they've spread it across the board to where now these things apply to just about anyone, and it circumvents black Americans from actually receiving any of it. This is an old trick. This is the same trick that was played in the book. The Book of Remembrance specifically identifies a group of people and is specifically speaking about them, their God, their disobedience to him, and their ultimate return back onto him, and them being placed on high after being on punishment for a period of time. They have taken everything now and make it to where it's an everybody book. Everyone is a spiritual Israelite. There is no law, etc., etc., etc. So we are never allowed to have anything that is specifically for us or specifically to us. So they have stripped that, as they have done the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. We're not allowed to have anything. Okay, so when you look into the book of remembrance, it pertains only to us. Now, when our enemies took us captive, they knew exactly who they were taking captive. They knew this clearly, and they knew exactly who that book pertained to. But they came up with a different book. And this book now pertains to everybody, including them. So once again, the house of Israel is being cut out from exactly what their inheritance would be and their glory would be. So we continue to see us being cut off and cut out and left behind in every spectrum. However, this is just the ways of our enemies. The laws that are written, they are written for a reason. They're written to exclude us. Nothing good is what we're going to benefit in these lands. We're being cut off in every way, shape, or form. So now we have to consider some things as we look at our enemies closely, as we analyze them, and as we now lift up a shout against them by showing them to their face that you're indeed a liar. And let me take you in here and show you where you are a liar. So as far as I'm concerned, and based on my personality, I'm not going to soft shoe you with any of this information. You come to me with an idol, I'm going to tell you it's an idol. I'm going to tell you it's a liar and it's garbage. And I'm going to pull out the book and I'm going to read it to you straight and plain. So I'm not pulling any punches with you as it pertains to that. After all, our enemies pulled no punches with us when it came to teaching us these lies. They were in your face, very much here you go. Okay, it was shoved down our throats. These lies were. So when they come to me with these lies and try to get me to partake in it or buy into it, I will pull that book out and firmly hold my ground, and without any second thought, I will put it dead in their face and have them to deal with that. And some may call that arrogance and whatever else. But we're not to call them arrogant when they bring that book to us and try to ram it down our throats, telling us how much they know and how much we don't. But the minute we start to show them that, no, we're the people of this book and we're going to teach you, you don't teach us anything because this is who we are and this is who you are, and let me go into the book and show this to you. Then all of a sudden, now you're arrogant and you're everything else when they have expressed the same sentiments when they brought it to you. But they brought it to you expecting you not to know the book. Something to think about. The deception, once again, is psychological warfare. Because if I can get a group of people to believe that when I hit you in the cheek, you're to turn it so I can hit you on the other side and you're to do absolutely nothing about it, then there we have a group of people that we can control. If I can tell a man or a group of people, look, allow me to misuse you and abuse you in this life, excuse me, and you will gain your rewards in heaven after you die, just let me go ahead and ramsack you right now and do not be in opposition to me. What I have is a group of fools. Every man knows within his own mind that this life is all that he has. Yet, our people have bought into this life after death nonsense, when clearly you cannot look through our patriarchs, look through the book of remembrance and find where anyone has ever died and went to heaven or went to hell. I have asked several times on this channel, show me a scripture where any one of our patriarchs or any one of our prophets or the Most High himself has ever said such and such died and he went to heaven. You will never see that, or such and such died and went to hell. So we have taken a hold of these lies. These lies have caused confusion. But now what is happening is, as the Most High pours his Spirit out upon the children of Israel, we're going back to the beginning. We're going back to the first, the instructions that we were given at the first. And as we read through the laws of the prophets, we understand clearly that, okay, this New Testament book and the words of these Romans, we're understanding that these are lies and these are deceptions. Now comes contention between those of the house of Israel who are walking after the Most High's righteousness, his law, and those of the house of Israel who are cleaving onto the ways of the heathen, who are their enemies. So what you're seeing now is the children of Israel are now making that great separation in the midst of themselves, which is very important because I've done a video a while back, the great separation, the great divide. We're seeing more and more of this. We're going to see ourselves the men of Israel are going to separate themselves from the homosexuals. They're not going to even give any consideration to their behavior or any tolerance of it. And there will be women of the house of Israel who will do the same. So there will be separation in that regard. There'll be separation between worshiping the idols and not worshiping their idols, keeping the most high holy days, etc., etc. So you start seeing this great separation as it pertains to the book of the laws and the prophets, and those who are after the book of the idols. We will see clearly that many of our people actually side with our enemies and will side with their enemies and their enemies' idols. So we're seeing these great separations in that regard. And as the truth come forth, we're beginning to see confusion as well. Some people are confused in which way to go. There should be no such confusion because knowing which way to go, what simply means that you have to bear witness with your own eyes. You have to be able to see this. When you look at history, you look at our current circumstances, and you look at our history throughout the earth in times past, and the history of our people on the earth today, it's pretty much the same. You know who your enemies are, but we have been taught to be afraid of these people, to never stand up against these people, and to never point out their evils. But as the house of Israel begins to turn to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, he will strengthen us against these people. He will remove the fear of these people because he will pour out his spirit upon us. And when we pull this book out, they will be afraid of us like they were in the days of old. So this confusion is going to be clarified. The ignorance of not knowing. Some of our people just simply have never read the book. Either one, have never read the Old or what they call the New Testament. As I've said before, there is no such thing as an Old Testament or a New Testament. A testament cannot be changed. A testament is truth. It can't change. It doesn't get old, new, and it certainly doesn't get different. So our people have never taken the time to read either one of these books. They simply go on what they have been told, what they heard, and what they quote unquote believe that cannot be substantiated. So it was important that we were not allowed to read. Once you begin to read and read with comprehension, then you start to have questions. When you question these people about what they have taught us, how they have treated us, etc., 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 they will have absolutely no answers. If you feel as though you believe in God, you're this, that, and the other, then why have you treated us in this fashion, and everything that you have done to us is contrary to the Most High's law? They will not have any answers for that because you can actually go back and pull up all types of laws, etc., and the many things that Europeans have done to our people and present to them dead in their face and say, how is this? How are you the people of God when you have done this to us? Secondly, when you pull up Deuteronomy 28 and you tell them, look, the Most High laid all these curses upon his people, and we fit these curses verbatim. Show us where you fit these curses. And this is when the shock and the pure horror and the anger kicks in because they're unable to contend with the words of this book. So, as this great separation takes place, the Most High has to break these nations financially. Financially, he has to break them. Without money, you can't fight wars. Without money, these churches are useless. It's a business. It's idolatrous. It's evil in nature. The woman that came to my door today, the Roman that came to my door today, this was not an attempt to win souls, for no one ever died for me, and no one can petition for my sins but me. I have to do that for myself. Can't no one do that for me or anyone else. This is an attempt to get new members to gain money. Even the Roman Catholic Church, which is full of homosexuals, full of pedophiles, full of liars. The Pope is the head of this organization. He is one of them. You are not in the midst of homosexuals by the thousands and you not know that's what they are, unless you're one of them also. He knows what's going on in that organization called the Roman Catholic Church. Everyone knows what's going on in that organization called the Roman Catholic Church and any other church of that branch, Baptist, Seventh-day Adventists, etc. They're idolaters, they're homosexuals, they're liars, they're hypocrites. They do not walk after the laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High in any way, shape, or form. So now everything, Israel, is being brought before your face. Moshe told us clearly that our enemies are liars. Now you're going to see that. Some of you didn't want to believe it. You have been seeing it, but sometimes a man may look at something and he may not be able to recognize exactly what it is till someone explains it to him. And then he'll be able to say, oh, that's what that is. But sometimes you're looking at something and you have no idea what I'm looking at. I can see it, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know the purpose of it. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing the Roman Catholic Church. We're seeing the pedophilia in it. We're seeing the homosexuality in an abomination, a disgusting behavior. It's an abomination before the Most High. We're seeing them trying to cover it up. We're seeing them trying to take all these documents of these foul, quote unquote, what they call them, bishops and cardinals. Most High never had a bishop or a cardinal. Can't be a priest of the Most High unless you're a direct son of Aaron. This is something done by bloodline, not because you went to some kind of seminary school. I've already discussed this. So all the lies of our enemies are being presented before our face. They're being exposed. The cover's being ripped off of them. You will see this also with these fake, phony Christian pastors also. The biggest degenerate in the midst of our people is this Christian preacher. So as the head of the house of the idol worshippers, the Roman Catholic, falls, you're going to see all the branches of that tree wither and fall as well. And that goes for all the many variations, denominations of Christianity. So that will crumble. You will see them exposed, and you will see how people go after these pastors. Now, currently you see the economical strife that's being placed on America and all the other nations. You're seeing the uprising in France and everywhere else. People are being robbed. Their pension funds are being robbed. Their 401k is going to be robbed and everything else. You're going to be working for naught. You're going to be working for nothing, pretty much spinning your wheels. You're spinning your wheels. Your hours on your job is going to be cut. Okay? The financial tightening is beginning. And as that begins, and nations start competing for quote-unquote natural resources, this is where wars come about. I've said in previous videos, pay attention to the situation that's going on in Israel. Israel, the landmass. Look at what's going on with the Golan. President Trump lately is trying to acknowledge and recognize the Golan as land belonging to Israelis, quote-unquote Jews. Do understand that Golan belongs to Israel. Israel, the nation. Israelites, not Israelis. So that Golan area is part of our land. So keep a close eye on what's going on with these Palestinians. Every Friday they're marching. Every Friday the Israelis are killing killing Palestinians. So pay attention to that, because we cannot be returned back onto that land to tear down those idol houses until those that are on that land that doesn't belong there are removed from it. So the ticking point we're looking for the removal of this man that calls himself the Israeli or the Jew out of that land. Now, day by day, month by month, year by year, this thing is escalating. So let's see exactly what comes of the fact that he is actually trying to get the UN and other nations to recognize that Israel has its sovereignty over the Golan. The UN has already rejected that notion. So you're going to see alliances being formed with the many Arab nations, and they will be against, and the many nations of the earth, they will be against America, and they will be against these Israelis. When you go to the book of the law and we read it, we can see clearly that these Israelis do not fit any of the Most High's laws or any of the Most High's curses, and they certainly do not walk after any of the Most High's laws. The Most High has never given the children of Israel a Talmud. The killing of these Palestinians and the encampment and imprisonment of the Africans that's coming from North and East Africa, North and West Africa and East Africa and other places. Okay, just Africans as a whole that are coming to Israel. They're being locked up. Okay, they're being beaten up. They're being called names. And they're being thrown in open air prisons as the Palestinians are. The house of Israel was instructed clearly that we were not to hate a stranger. We were not to oppress a stranger, because we were strangers in the land of Mizraim, Egypt. However, yet they lock up strangers, beat them up, call them names, and try to give them money so they can go back to the land in which they came from. They do not have any compassion onto the stranger, especially a stranger that has the complexion of myself. So they are being exposed for the liars and the hypocrites that they are. The U.S. government, from its inception, and if you read any of their laws and then look at the enforcement thereof of their laws, we will clearly see that they also are liars and hypocrites as it pertains to our people. So it's being placed in our face that all that we have sought after is nothing but vanity. It's being placed in our face that these people who some of us have turned to and married, have taken hold of their gods, their customs, and their ways, are nothing but enemies unto us. So now we will no longer go easy on our enemies. We will raise up a shout against them. And once they speak, we will no longer sit silent. We have the Spirit of the Most High upon us, and He will safeguard and protect us. And when they speak, we will certainly have a rebuttal to anything that they say, and we will do it in righteousness. And once we do this, these people cannot stand up against us, no way, no how. They are unrighteous in every step of the way. Now, there are those of the nations, once they hear the law, statutes, judgments, and the precepts of the Most High, the book says clearly that it will be a vexation for them to understand this report is going to upset them. They're going to be hateful. They're going to be mad, etc., etc., because we are simply waking up. However, there will be a percentage of the heathen, of the nations, that will take a hold of the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and will do them, and will take a hold of a man of Israel and walk with him, because the Most High is with him. So do understand, not all of the heathen are going to remain this way. Some of the heathen will turn. Some of the house of Israel that's currently walking after these idols, some of them also will turn, but many of them will not. So don't expect to see some great vast number of Israelites making this transition, because if the majority of us actually took a hold of the Most High's laws in the days of old, if a vast majority of us really did that, we would not be in the many lands of our captivity today. We will be in our land with our own currency, speaking our own languages, and the only law that we would have is the law, statute, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. That is going to be the law of the land. That's going to be the law of the earth altogether. So these are some things that we should consider as the money tightening begins. The pastor is not going to be seeing the kind of money that he's been seeing because the people are not going to be able to afford it. They're going to be losing their jobs. Their hours are going to be cut. And then we're going to see if that man is still going to preach what he's preaching when his coffers get slim. We're going to see how that works when these hurricanes and these floods really start multiplying themselves and the Most High start bringing evil upon these people and tearing up everything they've got that they can't replace. Then we're going to see exactly when they start screaming for JC. We're going to see if this works. We're at that point right now where it's going to be made plain to everyone exactly who is who and what is what. So I encourage you to stay in the Most High's law, statute, judgments, and precepts and do them. For everything else that we have tried has failed. I mentioned Dr. Anderson earlier. Of all the quote-unquote scholars that I've read, quote-unquote black scholars that I've read their material, his is as solid as one can get, trying to get us out of this situation and the mess that we're in here in America as far as economical empowerment and how to systematically address and attack a scheme politically to get us out of this mess. All of that is great. All of that is great if this place was going to exist. All of that is great if we're under the current construct that we have right now. But this current setup, this current construct is about to crack. It's cracking and it's crumbling. So therefore, there's no need for us to try to get businesses and do all these different things in a system that will no longer be. Now, do not misunderstand me. I'm not telling you not to start a business, etc. I have a business. So these things are important, entrepreneurship, etc. What I'm saying is we're placing our trust in a group of people that have never proven themselves to be trustworthy. Let me say that again. We're trying to place our trust in some people who have never proven themselves to be trustworthy. What I mean by that is this. We cannot go to our enemies for justice when over 400 years our enemies have shown us and proven to our very face that they are unjust and that they are hypocritical, and the laws that they will make, they have made it for themselves, and they will shun us when it comes to getting any type of equity within that legal system. So there's no way in the world that we're going to turn to our enemies who have shown nothing but evil and being unjust towards our people. And all of a sudden, in the 400th year or the 401 year or 405 years, that they're going to just say, you know what, hey, we have been wrong, and we're just going to just now we're going to stop being unjust and be righteous towards you. These things are not going to happen. Okay, what's going to happen is the Most High is going to do these people as he did Egypt. He's going to break them. He's going to break them militarily. He's going to break them financially. He's going to break them spiritually. Once he breaks them, it's amazing what a man will listen to and what a man will do when he is stripped. So they'll be loud talking. They'll be arrogant. They will place all the trust in their weaponry, etc., and tell you how they're superior, etc., etc. When the Most High breaks them, they will have a totally different spirit upon them, and he's going to break them. So as he breaks them, make sure that you are not cleaving unto them. For as the Most High gather us out of these nations, we have to separate ourselves from the heathen. So understand clearly that you cannot cleave unto them. And when we're gathered out of these nations, we're not going to be gathered up in the air or anything like that. They will be coming to get them in vessels, coming to get us in vessels, boats, planes, etc. That's how we're going back. We're not being gathered up into the sky or anything like that. So keep an eye on what's going on the current events. Is very important. Look at what's going on in these many nations. Look at the destruction that's hitting them. As you see, a cyclone just hit Africa. Keep in mind, some of these nations in Africa and some of these Africans are responsible for us being over here. So when the Europeans get it, some of the African nations are going to get it as well because they had a hand in our captivity. So we are to keep that in mind. They do not get a pass. Anyway, Israel, these are the lies, these are the deceptions and the confusion and the ignorance of our people. And as we turn to the Most High with our whole heart and our whole soul, He will remove the blindness from our eyes, the stoppers from our ears, and the fatness from our hearts, and cause us to understand. And as we understand, we will continue to magnify His law, make it honorable, and give glory unto His name. And the stone cut out without hands, His law, will roll over the lies and the deceptions of many nations that will crush them. And you will see a totally different spirit upon these people when they are stripped. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless.